Okay, what's up, whoever might be watching this? We've got Abram here on the controls. We are in the final round of our knockout battle. We must get 4th place or better.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
We've got
being used.
DK's got the golden mushroom.
I'm locked in. I'm locked
The stakes have never been higher.
I'm really locked in. I don't know.
Oh my god, it's...
My hands are sweating really bad. My hands are sweating really bad.
All right, now right above DK here, we can obviously have a player using the cow. This is a huge item pickup. Let's see if this is gonna decide. No! No! We gotta make something happen.
I gotta get to the cow's footprint. No!
Drift the cow! Drift the cow! I'm dying. I'm dying. Oh my god, I'm dying. It was so funny.
Oh, that's so good.
Hello everybody, I'm Jake Steinberg and I went to New York City to play the Nintendo Switch 2. Oh my god, that jealousy. It is delicious. I know what the system feels like. I know how it plays. And in this video, I'm gonna tell you everything that I've been thinking about. Okay, so the first thing, the hardware. What's the hardware like? And I think in my estimation, what we're looking at is essentially, if you have one at home, a Nintendo Switch OLED. I think we obviously have a bunch of data about how big the system actually is, how much it actually weighs, but in practice, it felt nearly identical to me in every metric that really mattered to holding a Switch OLED. And even while holding one when the screen was on, my friend next to me even had to say, like, they reminded me, they went, "This isn't an OLED." And that kind of took me by surprise. I think a lot of people will be surprised by how nice it looks in practice. And the only real difference you're gonna see, sure, you get in there, you do the digital foundry thing, you get really in the weeds, you're going to see a difference with like the deep blacks most prominently, but I do think most people will be happy with the screen when it comes to brightness and saturation levels. I think it was really nice. In terms of the size of the Switch 2, I went in ready not to like it. This was something that I kept telling myself, is that I have a Steam Deck, I consider it to be too big, and I always want smaller Switch systems. But how much bigger it is, again, when compared to the Switch OLED, it didn't really feel impactful to me. But the biggest difference when you're looking at the hardware of the Nintendo Switch and comparing it to the Nintendo Switch 2, it has to be that 1080p screen. I'll talk about this a little bit when we talk about Mario Kart in a minute here, but I played Mario Kart first on the TV, did like a little split screen mode, and I like, it looked nice, but I don't think it looked meaningfully better than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And then I was playing it handheld mode, and I was like, well, the Switch can't do this. The Switch can't do this. Just in terms of image quality, there was something about it that made it pop, that I thought was actually really impressive. And it's kind of an ineffable thing, right? When you look down and you say to yourself, man, this is more impressive than what I had before, because what am I really internalizing it? But I really do think, specifically for handheld and tabletop players, you know, a lot of these Nintendo Switch games that we love, your Marios, your Karts, they perform well and they look nice. But here in tabletop and handheld mode, I think we're eating, baby. All right, last couple things about the hardware. The Joy-Con appear to be completely figured out in terms of how they attach to the console. Like, I don't really know anything about magnets, but I guess they have the magnet technology figured out, because there was really no give. There was no wiggliness. There was no, it seems like this is what it was always supposed to be. You know, that whatever issue that you had with the Joy-Con rail, maybe this is unsurprising to people, but I guess putting those magnets on the side of the system, it really hit me with like it was always supposed to be like this feeling. Like, this feels like the true form of the Nintendo Switch in a lot of ways. Another thing that's gonna come up when you're holding the system is like sticks and buttons. You're gonna notice maybe the size increase, because I do think that there is a marginal size increase to the sticks and the buttons, it didn't really affect me in a way that I thought was meaningful. I don't know if I would have even told you there was a size increase based on instinct alone. You know, you're going from a button the size of a mini M&M to a button the size of a normal M&M. And I think enough people will convince themselves that that is an upgrade. It's not worse. It's definitely not worse. It's probably going to be better to somebody. But for me, I thought it was more or less the same. And I will say, though, the sticks, everything, you know, you press the L1, the R1, the triggers, they kind of feel the same as the original Switch Joy-Con. But I do think that and maybe I'm just placeboing myself, but the sticks felt like there was maybe a little bit like less resistance. There was like a smoothness to the sticks that was like loose and kind of weird. And I don't even know if that's good. But I noticed it. So that's something for you. Okay. I'm now going to open it up before we go on to the games for questions about the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware based on my hands-on time with it. So this is the time for the chat to ask me questions about holding the hardware, and we'll see if I can answer them. Oh yeah, great question. Faded asks, how did the single Joy-Con SR, SL buttons... Thank you for the sub! Let's go! Faded asks, how did the single Joy-Con SR, SL buttons feel on the new Joy-Con? Great question. So this is actually kind of funny, because you know how before you used to have to get those more prominent buttons, you used to have to put the little grip on the Joy-Con, you know, that little plastic thing, you got those buttons. So now that grip is like fake. That grip is for the mouse mode, and it actually does not give you more prominent buttons on this thing anymore. So now it really is the size increase of the SL and SR buttons on their own. You're not supposed to put a grip on it to be more comfortable holding this thing. You're just supposed to use it on its own. And I will say, this is obviously better than it is with the Switch Joy-Con. This is obviously better. This is the kind of thing where, like, you know how you can play Mario Kart like this? Like, you know how you can, but like nobody would. This kind of thing, this was the kind of thing where I held that the single Joy-Con and I went, I might do this. So that's, you know, so for what it's worth. All right, let's see. How hot was... Bungle asks, how hot was the room? The room was nice and cool. I was very happy with the room. All right. I don't know if this is going to make it into the video, but I have to tell two stories really quick about this preview event, and we'll get back to the questions. Okay, one, I had moved away from the Nintendo Switch 2 console, and I saw that one of the people manning the station pulled out their little thing, and they were going to clean the system. They were going to wipe it down. They were going to make sure it was germ-free for the next person to hold it. But at this point, everybody was already kind of moving on to the next station, so there was really nobody there. But I turn around, and I see that the person manning the station drops from like 5 feet a real Nintendo Switch 2 console. They drop it to the ground onto like a hard cement floor. And one, the Joy-Con did not pop off. The Joy-Con stayed attached, which was shocking because this thing hit the floor hard. But this woman that was manning that station, panic across her face when she drops the console. Absolute panic. She looks at her two coworkers before she even goes to pick it up. She is having an episode. And I was really one of the only people paying attention to her as this went down. And she goes to pick it up, and you see she does that thing. It's like when you drop your phone, you go over to the thing and you pick it up and you look, and she's like, that's what I saw. I literally saw this happen in real time again. That's what I saw in real life. It was hysterical. Oh my God, I was absolutely dying. Okay. The second thing about this event is that I kind of go to these things. Right? And I tell myself, I'm going to be really nice to the people working at these events. I'm going to be so nice to them. I want to be their favorite customer today, okay? And these people were too nice. I needed them to be 12% more begrudging, okay? I was sitting there playing Mario Kart, and they were screaming behind, cheering every time I did something good, and even when I did something bad. You know what I mean? You walk up to one of these stations, and they're like, "What's your favorite game? That's my favorite game too. Isn't this the best?" And it really took me out. It took me out at the knees, chat. All right, they were really nice. Okay, you would think that nobody loved their job more than these people. I also bumped into Jose Otero, if that's a name familiar to you, and I had like a nice little chat on the side with Jose Otero, who used to work for IGN. And he was very kind. He was very kind. And I noticed it took Jose 3 seconds to go from being like, I'm in work mode, to being like, oh, I'm gonna talk to you like a normal person mode. And I was very impressed with that. I was like, oh, you're actually like just talking to me right now. I loved it. Loved it. All right. Back to questions. Okay, so JPay asks, is there something else other than the magnets? JPay asked, is there something else other than just the magnets holding the Joy-Con on? I wonder what the button is for. So JPay, it's kind of weird because I looked into this too because I was curious. What does the button actually do when you like dislodge the Joy-Con, you know? And all it is that you push this little button in and there's like a plastic stick that just kind of like separates. It just like pokes into the side of the machine and pushes it out. Like that's it. And it seems so simple. It seems so simple. But yeah, it works. It's crazy. Zykiel asks, did you feel the extended length of the shoulder buttons? Not at all. Are they trying to say that there's an extended length to the shoulder buttons? I find that hard to believe. Canadian Groose and Sharon asks, did you play with a Pro Controller at all? If so, how did it feel? The Pro Controller always felt a bit cheap to me and light. Yeah. So for most of the demos, actually, we were playing with the Pro Controller a lot when something was on the TV. And it felt indiscernible. It felt indiscernible from one of these. Though I will say yeah, really indiscernible. And it's funny because I read this like Ask the Developer interview with Nintendo about how the sticks are going to be really quiet when they're going against like the wall of the controller. And I read this before I went to my hands-on event. So of course I immediately was like, well, I got to try this myself. And granted, it was really loud in the event, but I didn't think there was really any difference between doing that and doing this. If anything, the sound slightly changed, whereas now the sound is like, and it changed to like, you know what I mean? It was like a more hollow sound. I don't know. We only heard the first clack of the stick. Oh, that's so annoying. If I keep talking while I do it, you'll hear it. All right, if I keep talking, I think you'll probably hear it through this. It's just what you think it is, though. It's just what you think it is. So, yeah, I don't know why they made such a big deal out of that. But I will say the big difference with the Pro Controller, again, the sticks are obviously just like different technology in there. I'm not willing to say that it's like any better or worse. They're just obviously different. And if you like them more, then that's great. I did try out the D-pad. The D-pad seemed a little bigger, maybe a little more prominent. Maybe that was just my imagination, but it definitely felt like if you go to your Pro Controller D-pad right now, this is kind of gooey. It's a little gooey, right? You can kind of press in between a lot of directions and it's like hard to say what you're actually doing. The new Pro Controller, I think maybe was trying to force you a little bit more into one of like the cardinal directions. Maybe. That was my interpretation of that controller. Oh, Girlchan said, if you felt it at all, how was the cooling vent on both the system and the dock? Is it loud? Was it getting hot? Great question. They had any docks, anything switches were plugged into, that was like behind lock and key. We didn't really get to see any of that stuff. Good question though. Peach Booty said, I heard they would clap for everybody when they would walk to the DK station. Yes, but here's the funny part, is that when you're exiting, you're walking downstairs, and the stairs are like the length of this huge lobby with a ton of people working this event. So you have kind of like a long way to go. And as you're leaving the event with your Nintendo Switch 2 brand awareness backpack that they gave everyone, the whole walk, they are clapping and cheering for you. The whole walk. And everybody was just kind of like being really awkward and being like, Yeah, okay, and trying to walk down. But so obviously when I got there, I was like, and I think maybe half of them were into it. I think half. I don't. So let's talk about the games. So the first game I played was Mario Kart Tour. They set us up on a TV and had us play a split screen, just like a normal race, just like through one level, I think. And it was good. It was good. And I think that first race was the least amount of fun that I had with Mario Kart during this entire event, because we were just playing it with the like Joy-Con grip on the TV, and I was like, this looks nice. This is definitely Mario Kart. I think a few things stood out to me. A lot of the levels have this weird quality to them, and maybe this is a hot take, but you know how in like New Super Mario Brothers for the Wii, the levels are built for multiplayer, so they're like really wide, and you find that they're maybe not asking for the same level of precision as a normal 2D platformer game, because the game is trying to adhere to these multiplayer sensibilities. I almost got, maybe this is crazy to say, I almost got this sense from like the Mario Kart tracks that they were like all blown up to be a little too big. And I think that there were a lot of like straightaways, but not necessarily straightaways, just kind of like boring parts of maps that I was a little bit like, I don't know if this is working. I don't quite understand what's going on here. This doesn't seem right. And when I did just like me versus one other person and then everybody else was a CPU, I was like, this is good in the way that like every Mario Kart game is good, and I wasn't super impressed. There's definitely like a lot of content there with like all the different costumes and characters and whatnot, but that's not necessarily what really like lights me on fire when I'm thinking about Mario Kart. What was the frame rate if you played with other human players? It seemed, I couldn't tell you specifically what it was, but it seemed, you know, between great and fantastic. You know what I mean? It was great. It was nothing that made me, nothing that I clocked at all. So yeah. Really, I didn't understand Mario Kart World until we went to the next station and we played the knockout mode. So here's how they set it up. This was so much fun. We go upstairs, there's all of these Mario Kart stations, and they fill every single one in. So it is a 24 player, everyone is there, everyone is connected knockout mode. Before everybody's like synced in, they have you just kind of like free roam drive around, and there's like other players there. So like my friend was next to me and he was on his station, and I was like, I'm gonna find you. And I'm like running around this little multiplayer, you know, this little open area, and I'm just like trying to crash into him every time. So that was kind of cool. But the reason why the knockout mode I thought was so fun was because it truly felt like an evolution to like the Mario Kart competitive space that felt meaningful immediately, okay? Because what happens is, you've all seen the trailers by now, every so often there's a checkpoint you have to hit, and if you're not in like 20th place, 18th place, 14th place, 12th place, whatever, if you're not at that place, you get knocked out of the race and you're done. And what this did was, I felt like there was a new meta all of a sudden, where you didn't necessarily... Okay, think about it this way. The most intense part of a Mario Kart match is typically, I think, concentrated at the end. You know what I mean? That's like, it's all kind of comes down to who crosses that finish line first. You know what I mean? And with the knockout mode, I feel like they built in a way to have the intensity do this throughout the race, because it was like every single time you got through a checkpoint, you were like, I made it, you know what I mean? And then you moved on to the next one. And there's this funny like mental stack at play where there's more things to think about. You have to think about where the next checkpoint is, what place you are. Maybe you don't necessarily want to be in first place. Maybe you can, there's a lot of like, you have all these options and all of these things to have in your head that are more than just do the race well. And the degree to which all of those elements kind of add into your mental stack when you're playing, I thought was actually really successful. And it took the knockout mode from being something that I thought was like a gimmick that nobody would really do because you want to just do races, into like, oh, this actually is maybe the mode that we go play online. It was really fun. I really liked it. I was really impressed. Love that thing. A lot of questions in the chat are asking me about the open world. It seemed like boring and empty, and I think that must be because in our demo build, they didn't have stuff in it. They didn't want you to see stuff. It had to be, because it was functionally meaningless. It felt like all the open world stuff, it felt like it was there for me to make like game explain shorts where I go, did you know there is a fish in the fountain at the Luigi runway? Like there was no purpose other than that. So, and I'm sure that there is. I'm sure that there is. I just didn't see it. So, so I think we have to wait. I think we have to wait before we cast judgment on that open world stuff. But, I think what's cool about this Mario Kart game is that I just feel like there's more going on. I feel like when I sit down and play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, my brain kind of turns off and I know exactly what I'm doing. And there was enough different in this game that I felt like I was doing something new. And I'll even say that like the general kart racing mechanics, like how it felt to drift and move, was slightly changed up enough that it did feel like I had to learn something. I wasn't immediately masterful at it. There was room for me to understand how it all worked better. And I even liked how it feels like items have been nerfed in general. And when you get hit by stuff on the road, there are like different degrees of getting hit. I think in most Mario Kart games, if you get hit by something, there's maybe like 2 different hits you can take. You either get just like knocked or exploded. And it felt like this game had a bunch of different hit states where some of them barely slowed you down and were just like little bumps. And then others like could totally flip you over. I don't know. It seemed like they're trying to do this thing where the game never stops. They want the amount of like downtime you have to be minimal, even to the degree, this might be weird to imagine, but when you start a race, your cars are automatically moving all together in like this pattern. And since you're moving, your brain wants you to hold the A button to accelerate, but you actually don't. Like the cars are moving and you need to wait for that 3, 2, hold the A button, 1 go. And then of course, as you're moving from track to track, nothing stops. There's no downtime. And load times loading into all of this stuff, it was like if there were load times, it was, meaningless. It was like, it was like a few seconds. Like, who cares? Yeah, so really good. Definitely like for somebody like me who isn't a Mario Kart head, I felt like there actually was a lot there for me to enjoy. I am a little critical of some of the track designs and the layouts. I know, and this happened to me and my friends, there were times where we were all like driving on terrain that we weren't supposed to be on, and it was just unclear. Sometimes like this sprawling map, it's like weird. It's like it's hard to tell what we are supposed to be driving on, what we aren't, but I'm sure we'll just get used to it. One of my favorite things that I demoed was, there was one track, I don't even remember which one it was, but there's like some dynamic weather in this game, and we happen to hit this ocean part where you're like in boat mode during a huge storm. And like the waves were high and they were crashing. And I don't know if the waves were different because it was a storm, but it felt like it. And it was like this dark, stormy, your car's going over the waves, the thunder was crashing, the rain is pouring. It looked nice, chat. It looked nice. And even on the handheld, dude, I was like, it was shocking. It was like shocking how nice it looked. I was like, let's go, Mario Kart, let's go. Did you feel like you couldn't get a taste of second, third, and fourth tracks since you do less laps of them? 100%. 100%. There is this weird thing where it's like, I don't even know what a track is anymore. I don't even know. It's like there are races. There are no tracks. Track is like it's like a defunct term. The weather actually impacts the driving, asks Charon. I am not sure. I am not sure. It affected the aesthetic and the like tone of the scene, but I don't know if it actually had an impact on the driving. But yeah, so those are my Mario Kart World impressions and updates. Do we have any questions? Is there anything I didn't mention that you guys want to know about? What do you think they'll show in the Mario Kart Direct? Definitely like the open world stuff. Definitely like game mode stuff for sure. Like what you can do and how you unlock stuff. Because it seemed like very clear to me that they'll have a bunch of like people out in the open world and you'll like do little missions and stuff, like deliver things, do little races. Probably like find something and use the photo mode to take a picture of it. That seemed really easy to implement in the mechanics that they had set up. So stuff like that. I'm sure that's what we'll see. Do you think non-Mario content is returning? I'm not sure. I kind of hope no. I kind of like the hard lean into the kart stuff, into the Mario stuff. I kind of like it, but it would be a fun way to do DLC, right? Because it's Mario Kart World, and then instead of just like getting a dumb island to come over, you get like a whole new world, a different like planet that you go to, and it's like the Animal Crossing planet or the Zelda planet. Like that'd be so fun. Is there a gameplay change when changing costumes or turning into an enemy? Oh, okay. So JPay wants to know, is there a gameplay change when changing costumes or turning into an enemy? So when you turn into an enemy, from what I saw, that was an effect that the new like Kamek item did. So you get this item, the Magic Koopa flies out, and he does like a curse on the people in front of you. And when I used that item, I think I used it 2 or 3 times. One time I used it, we were in this little ocean part, and it made it so that a ton of cheeps started jumping out of the water and trying to attack people. And then another time I used it, it turned everybody in front of me into a cow. I don't know what that did to them, but they all turned into the cow character. So there you go. You know, so I don't know. I don't know what the, but in terms of the costumes that you get when you're like just driving on a course, you find the little meal, you eat the meal, your costume transforms. I did this, I was playing as Wario, and I found a little costume that turned him into kind of like a Roman soldier Wario with like the funny mohawk helmet. And I asked the guy running my demo, I was like, does that do anything for me? And he goes, I'm not sure. So that's all I've got for you. I didn't see anything it didn't seem to do anything. So I don't know. Yeah, it was weird. So next I played Metroid Prime 4 Beyond at a standing desk in split Joy-Con mode. And I think by now a lot of people know that you have your 2 Joy-Con. When you're holding them upright, you're just using normal controls. You twist over, you put it down on the desk. That's how you activate mouse mode. You don't have to go into a menu or anything, which was really cool. And I pretty much played, it was a pretty short demo, but I pretty much played the entirety of the demo in, great question, we did the 120 frames per second mode. I'm not sure what the resolution was on that mode because it used the term FHD, and I am not 100% sure what that technically means, but FHD was the term. It was 1080p, thank you. So it was, yeah, FHD, 120 frames per second, and I did the mouse mode the whole time. And chat, this is one of my biggest takeaways from the event, so I hope people can understand what I'm saying when I try to break this down. It felt insane to use mouse mode in a Nintendo game. If you watch any streamer, any video game streamer play a first-person shooter, you will see them do some crazy stuff and move way faster than you and I could ever hope to move, like adjusting your angle and stuff in a shooting game. I don't do this. This is beyond me. And when you do mouse mode on the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Metroid Prime 4, you can waggle that thing like a crazy person, and it keeps up with you perfectly. And because of the 120 frames per second, I felt that it looked pretty good. Like you could still kind of like see what was going on and like keep everything straight. It was like working, chat. It was that degree of movement made sense to me for like the first time ever. It was freaking me out, chat. It felt like you were emulating the game and like playing it on a PC, honestly. So the thing about mouse mode is that it works like crazy well. Okay? It is accurate, it is precise, it is seamless. It is pretty much everything you would want out of mouse mode. Blown away. But, and Lamp is getting ahead of me here. I don't know how long that Metroid demo was. Maybe 12 minutes, maybe not even 12 minutes. Goddamn, did my wrist hurt for the rest of the day after that 12 minute, after this and playing Dragon Drive, which we'll talk about later. Yeah, it is. Listen, I don't know. I was at the standing table. There was really no like elbow support. I don't know the science. I don't know how this stuff works. I don't know what the science is, but what I can tell you is that goddamn my wrist hurt. Okay, I was like the whole rest of the day, I was like, ooh. It was like really not good. So whatever the science is of the ergonomics of how you're holding that thing and how you gotta be with your arm, I don't know, chat. It was disappointing because I was actually quite startlingly impressed with the mouse mode. And then at the end, I was like, there is no way I'm gonna be using this. It's just too much. It's just way too much. So maybe at home, when you can put your whole arm down on a table, you can figure something out. You can hack it, you can make it work for you. But as it was, I was definitely like, I feel so strongly about this, chat, that I like can't see a future for mouse mode. That's how bad it was. So unless we can figure out a way to make it work at home, I really feel strongly about this. Like it was like devastatingly uncomfortable after using for just like a short amount of time. People are gonna have like this to me is the new Joy-Con drift. Okay, this is gonna be like a thing that people talk about. They're like arms hurting from using the mouse mode. Anyways, so let's talk a little bit about Metroid Prime 4, the actual game. There were times in this game where I went back and forth playing this game between, oh man, this is like it's like, this just feels like a Nintendo Switch 2 game. It looks so good. And then every so often, something would creep in. Some weird geometry, some gunky texture. And I would go, ew, that's grody, dude. I think you saw it in the trailer. You know when the bad guy, like Sylux, kind of like crashes into the scene and it does like a close-up on him? For some reason, in my demo, when it played that cutscene and it did the close-up on Sylux, I literally was at my demo station, the person running it right next to me. I went, ew! It looked so bad, dude. It looked so bad. Oh my god. I don't know why either. I don't know why. Maybe it'll get fixed, but yeah, so graphically it was like good and bad, mostly good, and then like a surprising bad every now and then. I know that guy is telling that story. Metroid Prime 4 to me had this weird thing going on in the game. So really early section for the demo, probably as early as you can get. The game was really just trying to get you acquainted with like pointing and shooting. I'm sure you've seen the footage by now. That boss you play at the end, very easy to beat. Just like target the weak spots and shoot them. And then before that boss, there was like these little doors, and it's like just aim at the door, target the weak spots, go through the door. When I got in combat, so there was no exploration. It felt very not like what I think people like about Metroid Prime. So I feel like I didn't really get like a great sense of the game. But something I thought was really interesting was when I got in combat scenarios, I would like jump and do like a little dash, and I was going crazy with the mouse mode, and I was aiming people down. The person running that demo, this is before I made my ooh comment, was even like, you're really good at shooting. And I think that they meant it. I don't think it was them glazing me because they were the happiest people alive. I was like, you can play this game in a way where you are cracked, where you are a psycho, like moving around faster than you think, aiming people down, doing your shots like a psycho. And it's funny because I don't know if the game, there is really no reason for you to do that from what I saw. The game does not demand that you move at that kind of pace. But it made me want that game. It made me want that game, chat. I was doing this on this system and it made me yearn for like a multiplayer component. It made me yearn for something that was fast-paced and intense, using like the exact controls and environment that I was in this game. And it felt like it made sense for that. So yeah, something kind of weird happening there, because I'm not sure why even like sell you that when that's not really what the game is interested in. I hope this makes sense to people. It was definitely weird. Do you think it's because the Switch version does not have that level of control? That's a good question, Faded. I'm not sure. You're right. Maybe it is just kind of like a mismatch because it is a tacked on thing by virtue of what the Switch 2 can do. But it definitely made me wonder if, like, you know, we still don't have a release date on this game. It looks like information is forthcoming. If they said that there was a Switch 2 exclusive online multiplayer mode, I would be all about that. But otherwise, based on the demo, I think I liked the game a little bit more than I thought I would, but it wasn't a great demo. I feel like we didn't get to see what was special about the game, and instead the game was being used to show us what was special about the Switch 2, primarily mouse mode and 120 frames per second. And in that regard, it did show me those things, so I have to give it credit for doing so. But I'm not like, I don't really have any expert takes on that game as it is. Cool. Before I move on, any questions about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond? Wow, I love this I love this question from Canadian Goose. From Indigo Alpha. Does it feel weird to go from playing on the Switch 2 back to the Switch 1? No. Like, no. The hardware is so similar in your hand that actually, no. It just makes me want to play those Switch 2 games. Does it have a good map? I think so. I don't know. I looked at the map for like 5 seconds because I like wanted to, and I got nothing out of it. I don't know. Were you able to test any controls for it besides mouse mode? So we held the dual Joy-Con. So I saw some people at their demo stations being like, I'm not interested in the mouse mode, and they just kind of did the dual analog mode. And that was kind of all that was available to us there. I want to know how that game feels just on a pro controller. I feel like I just want to play it on a pro controller. But listen, if we can figure out that mouse mode, then I'm all in, baby. Because it is fun. There is something special. There is something unique about that. All right, we're moving on. Next, I played the new mouse control Mario Party Jamboree mini games. Okay. I'm sure that there are plenty of videos about these, so I don't need to go through one by one, but this, to me, was a beautiful articulation of the power of mouse mode. Way less tough on the wrist because you're only doing them in these like bite-sized minigame chunks. Every single one, not the camera minigames, the mouse mode minigames. Every single one of these mouse mode Mario Party Jamboree minigames was a top S tier Mario Party minigame. Every single one. The mouse mode does this thing that I think is like perfect for Mario Party. Something I love about Mario Party is like when you're forcing everybody to play with just like one Joy-Con, it's like an equalizer between like somebody like me who's really comfortable with a controller and my friends who maybe are not as comfortable. There's a little like discomfort there that tries to equalize player skill. And then when you bring the mouse mode into it, anybody can compete. You know what I'm saying? I'm a pro gamer out at this event, and I've got this kid next to me. This kid must have been 11 years old, if even. And he was doing these mouse mode games just as good as anybody else could. And I was like, let's go. The kid was on my team, and I said, kid, we are gonna beat these other two people. Let's go. And we did. It ruled. And I just thought that the minigames were like You know, if there's a bunch of letters and you're sifting through the letters and you're putting them in different folders, that is a minigame that is stupid when you're just using stick and button controls. But when you're using the cursor and there is this tactile motion-based element to it, it is so much more fun. It is so much more fun. So yeah, so I think I really appreciated that element of it. It just made all of these games, it gave them new life. There was like a mini game where you're trying to make it through this like electric maze grid thing and you grab a toad. Like imagine you're like dragging a document with your mouse. You grab a toad and you just have to, without hitting the walls, like Operation, you're dragging the toad through this game, and if he hits a wall, he gets zapped. It was so funny, dude. And it was this thing again where you can't really do this with like button and stick controls, where like somebody on the other team, they got zapped and they had to make up a lot of ground, and they physically were like, I'm going to sprint through this to try to like catch up and make up that difference. Man, I loved the mouse minigames in Mario Party Jamboree. Really fun. And I think like, because apparently mouse technology is just not that complex. I went into this event chat being like, is the mouse mode even going to work? Will it even be accurate? That was like a question on my mind. And then I very quickly saw that that is not a concern. I am tempted to use the word flawless. Apparently mouse technology is very easy. Because it was like, I never had a single input issue in any game, anytime I was using mouse mode. It always behaved exactly how I thought it would. So I guess this is just something that they can do now. Who knew? Did you happen to learn if these mouse minigames are exclusive to the minigame mode / that roller coaster mode? It's hard to say. It felt like we had a special demo thing set up where we were in a special screen. So I'm not sure how they fit into the actual game. That would stink. Did you try the camera games? Show Snee. I saw, so my friends went to go do the camera games and I went to go do the mouse games. We split up. And then I saw the tail end of my friends doing the camera games, and I just could not socially mask enough to do the camera games. There was too much cheering, too much hollering, too much body movement. So no, I did not play I did not. It felt like an invitation to be perceived in a way that I did not like. I was like, I don't want to be perceived like this today. I don't want to be perceived. So I skipped the camera games. I watched them happen. They worked. It was fine. If you've ever done a Kinect or an iToy, you know exactly what those are. Do you think people will actually adopt the camera considering it is a separate purchase? So here's the thing. The camera is the easiest slam dunk of all time if you are a parent and have a child. The easiest slam dunk of all time. The way that these kids lit up coming out of a warp pipe and being on like the Mario Party game show or whatever the heck it was, I was like, say no more. I get it, Nintendo. I get it. Tim Schafer, the legendary Double Fine developer, always says that his best game, I can't even remember what it's called, but his studio made like a Kinect motion control goofy game. And he always says that that's the best game because like the way it lit up kids. And I never really understood what he meant until I was at this preview event and saw the kids playing the camera game. I was like, got it. They're in the game. They're right there. They're with Mario. Got it. So it is what it is. Yeah, the camera being only $50 is not bad. It's not bad. That's one of those things where it's like, you don't have to get that day one. You don't have to get that day one. Take your time. Wait a month. Wait 2 months. Get that camera eventually. No big deal. Okay. Chris or O'Byerly, they say also the camera can be any USB-C compatible camera. I got mixed answers about that. I asked about this and they were like, I got a very like maybe. You know, it's like other cameras will work. All of them? No. So I don't know. Do you know if we can use our own camera? Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not willing to commit. I'm not willing to commit on this. I gotta compose myself for this. It is time to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. So nobody is sitting at this demo station. I'm not really sure where I want to go next. I walk up, I start talking to the guy. He starts giving me the spiel. And 2 minutes into this demo, I know I've made a big mistake. And I am trying to figure out what I'm going to say to this guy to get out of doing this demo now. I'm literally having like social anxiety because I am disliking what is happening in this video game so much that I'm trying to figure out what to say to the guy running the demo behind me so that I can, in the least awkward way possible, admit to him that I am having no fun and I would rather be doing anything else. The Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, as you play as a like generic person, tiny person running around the Switch 2 as if you are an ant on an ant farm, just waiting to live out your meager existence and eventually get squished. So what you do, the way that the game actually works, is that you run around the Nintendo Switch 2 console, you're on top of the screen, you're on top of the Joy-Con, you're on top of the buttons, and you talk to either buttons or stations or people, and you pray to God that they give you an actual minigame to play. Most things do not. I ran over to I was close to the D-pad, and you run over, you press A on the up on the D-pad button, and a little dialogue bubble comes up and it says, "This is the up button." Sometimes when making a selection, you use this to press up. And then you go to the right D-pad button. This is the right D-pad button. Sometimes you press this when you want to go to the right. I was desperate to actually play something in the Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. My little ant is running around the Nintendo Switch 2 begging for a minigame. Finally, I find one. And it's like the equivalent of a Flash game on a web browser. You're a UFO controlled by the cursor, and little rocks are falling down, and you just move the cursor to dodge the rocks. It is so stupid, chat. It is so stupid. It was embarrassing. And then you're running around the Nintendo Switch 2 console begging to find another minigame, and then the second you do find one, you realize it is garbage. It is straight garbage, chat. And it's funny because it's like they will try and mask some of this as like you are learning about the Switch 2 console, but you're not learning about it in a way that is like, every little blurb I found, every single one, it's like if you asked me what something was, it's more or less what I would have said. It's so boring. Like, yeah, it was really boring. So I did end my demo early, and I think what I settled on, I said to the guy was, "I think I got it. Thanks." And I walked away. It was really bad, chat. Ugh. The Welcome Tour. I was not welcome. They had minigames, they were telling me, that were hidden. They were like, "Oh, there are minigames that are not in this build." When the guy said that to me, that there were minigames not in the build, it took everything in me not to be like, "No, I think you should show them." I was like, I don't think now is the time to hold back. Oh man. Oh God. Exactly. They're like, "Dude, wait until you read what the A button does." Do you think if we cut out some minigames, we can convince people that there is something worth $10 behind all of this? Like, that's what it felt like, chat. That's what it felt like. So stupid. All right. Next demo, I move on to the GameCube Nintendo Switch Classics station. So I go up to the station. They've got the new GameCube Pro controller there. Really nice controller. If anybody has questions about that controller, happy to answer them. And me and my friend Abram played a match of Mario Strikers for the GameCube. And I went into this so exciting. So I load up Mario Strikers. I went into this so excited, and I had one question I wanted to answer. I wanted to know, is this GameCube game, is this actually better than the Nintendo Switch Mario Strikers game? Because I remember it being better. And that's what I wanted to know, okay? So I go up to the station. I'm like, okay, let's play this game. I just want to know. We turn the game on, Mario Strikers, and it's a 4-3 box, right? It's a 4-3 box. But I know Mario Strikers. So I go into the settings and I activate the widescreen mode, which works. It works. And now it's not stretched. It's like the game actually on GameCube supported widescreen. So I'm playing Mario Strikers. It looks nice. It plays nice in widescreen. Out of everything I played, oh, I feel so bad saying this. I feel so bad saying this. Out of everything I played at the Nintendo Switch 2 event, Mario Strikers for the GameCube had the fastest 0 to fun score out of any game. 0 to fun. 7 seconds. We start that matchup, easy. You've got your pass, you've got your shoot, you've got your dodge, and like your tackle or whatever. You hold a little trigger, you press pass until you do the lob. It all came back to me. It all came rushing back to me. The items. Use the items to set yourself up with the super shot. Oh my God. The answer to my question is yes. I came home and I started playing. Sorry, I'm just getting so emotional. I came home and I started playing the Switch version of Mario Strikers just to confirm. The GameCube version is easily a better game. Simple and visceral in its mechanics, but they all work. And you see how they feed into each other. We just had so much fun. Just an absolute blast. What a banger. What a banger for the system to have that GameCube version of Strikers on it. And you're going to be able to play it online. God damn, dude. I'm so excited. That's actually like the second that game is on the service, we're going to be streaming it. We're going to be playing it. I'm going to be playing, as you know, the other 4 people that get a Switch 2 in the chat. Easy, dude. Easy. This probably won't go in the video, but something I just want to say really quick about Strikers is that they do this thing with where you have a team captain and then you pick who the minion is going to be, and it lets you have like an actual sense of identity. It lets you have an actual sense of identity with your team. And it's not just like you go online and it's just like a random arrangement of Mario characters occupying the field. You don't even know who's on whose team. So stupid. Oh, the gear system in Strikers Battle League. Oh, so stupid. So stupid, chat. Oh, disgusting. But GameCube looked really good. It had that like HD but not HD look that I think we come to expect from the Nintendo Switch Online things. But it looked nice. You know what I mean? It's like some of the text and some of like the PNGs in there. Obviously, they look a little fuzzy, but not in a way that I think actually bothers anybody. Just in a way that you notice it for a second and then you forget about it. But I'm really excited to play these games online. I'm also really excited to play them in handheld mode. I feel like just having a GameCube game right on a handheld is delicious. Delicious. So yeah. All right. And really quick on the subject of the GameCube controller, it was awesome. It was awesome. I'm not big on buying these Nintendo Switch Online controllers through Nintendo. Not big on it at all. But the GameCube controller is the first one that I'm like, dang, maybe I just get this because I just like the GameCube controller so much. There's nothing insightful to say about it. It's just a really good GameCube controller. They stuck an L1 button on there that is like comically small for some reason. But it has like the C button, it has like the home button, it has all the stuff that you want to be on there. It's just really nice. It's just really nice. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Next 2 things I played, Kirby and the Forgotten Land and Zelda. Kirby in the Forgotten Land, I started to get really I was getting a little the whole thing felt a little fishy because I was playing that demo and I was like, this could have been a Switch. I could not perceive the difference. Maybe I got to go back and play Kirby in the Forgotten Land on Switch. It meant nothing to me. I genuinely feel like whatever campaign that they're doing for the DLC they could figure out a way to make that run on the Switch version of the game. That felt a little fishy to me. It was just not meaningful. The whole campaign is like if you added terrestrialization to Kirby, very silly. But Zelda, the performance and fidelity improvements hit immediately. In a way that I think Zelda is like a really, really good point of comparison for like selling people on this console, because I had like a religious experience with Zelda running as well as it did on this hardware, where it made me realize, oh, I'm about to get philosophical with everybody here. We're about to get a little big brain. I had this moment where I realized, I think a lot of video games that I play on PC, PS5, whatever, high frame rates, 4K, those are just like settings that they're pushing, that they're turning on. They're putting the slider all the way to the end. And it like looks nice, almost coincidentally. And then I saw Zelda running at whatever resolution and frame rate it was running at. And I was like, oh God, this actually matters. It's like the art direction is singing all of the sudden. It felt like a new game. It was so meaningful, chat. It's almost ineffable. I'm having a hard time saying what I really want to say, but there was a degree to which I was like, I think that there was a degree of switchiness to Switch 1 games that I had internalized, that I didn't even know I internalized. And to see this version of Zelda made me go, oh my God, these games are even more exceptional than I previously thought. Truly blown away. Making me want to like replay those games. Man. Whoo! Yeah, I'm excited for everybody to see that. I think it really is a difference maker. And I think for a game like Breath of the Wild specifically, and Tears of the Kingdom to an extent, these are like, to give them their like, the real version of them, where you're seeing through the vision of what those games are supposed to be, unshackled by the performance of the Nintendo Switch, feels important and special in a way that did not pass me by. So yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna have strong reactions to those games, and those performance improvements are included with your Nintendo Switch Online subscription or whatever, so everybody will get to see them. And I think I kind of think that those games do all of the work you need to do to like show your audience the difference, the jump, because the like just a visceral reaction to the jump, just crazy. Yeah, crazy. Okay, I think that's everything. There were some third-party things I don't really have anything to say about. Yakuza, they had a Yakuza demo there that looked suspiciously bad. Cyberpunk looked pretty good, actually. Cyberpunk was definitely like Steam Decky, if not like a little nicer than the Steam Deck version. And I think that one of my big takeaways from the event overall is that that's the kind of performance that you're seeing out of the Switch 2 for third-party games. Obviously, you're seeing better for the first party, but for the third-party games, it looked like consistently exceeding what the Steam Deck is capable of, which was cool. Oh, Dragon Drive! How could I forget? How could I forget Dragon Drive? Okay, Dragon Drive is one of these games where I am going to be a little suspicious of anybody that is aggressively enthusiastic about Dragon Drive. The game from my demo has little to no personality, and I think that the mechanics are a little poopy. So here's the thing. The controls work. Like when you are driving the wheelchair, it's doing exactly what you want it to do. It makes perfect sense. They're not awkward. It did critically make both of my wrists feel terrible by the end of the demo. Absolutely terrible. Those mouse mode controls, goddamn. And I was sitting for this, but still. Oh, pain the rest of the day. I think my problem with the game is that it's just like, okay, I think this illustrates it. So you know when you lift up your controller and you actually shoot the ball? So those are the two parts of the game. You drive your wheelchair and you shoot the ball. The motion controls involved in shooting the ball are completely fake. It's just a waggle. I think if you do this or this or that or this, I don't think it means anything. Because I think the accuracy of your shot, all it has to do with is how lined up your wheelchair is with the hoop, okay? So I was nasty at drag and drive, absolutely nasty. And I was terrorizing the other people that were part of my session, absolutely terrorizing them. And I wanted to see what I was really capable of in this game. So I would just get the ball, move around everybody else because I picked it up really quickly, go to the 3-point line, and adjust myself perfectly until I was lined up perfectly with the hoop. And then I'd wag that controller and it'd go in every goddamn time. And I think part of the fun of the game for me is that the driving feels specific and unique. And then it feels like the other half of the game where you're actually scoring feels mindless and dumb. And honestly, chat, doing this to like move around in the game, it just is not inherently fun. That is not an inherently fun thing. There is a novelty to it that you're gonna be like, oh, I'm surprised how well this works. This is kind of fun when you're trying the game out. But I don't think anybody who plays Drag and Drive will play Drag and Drive again after day 6. I think that game just gets old and tires out. So unless they have something, I don't know. I kind of think the core of the game is just not that interesting. Which is a shame. I went in kind of wanting to like it. You know, I'm a big ARMS head, but it just doesn't. It's something is like missing in the pitch of that game, I think. There are trick moves you can do to increase scoring when you make a shot. Yeah, and that kind of thing is cool. But the act of doing is inherently just not fun enough. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know how you fix Drag and Drive. I just feel like it times out. Yeah. Do you feel like they wanted Rocket League with a mouse? I feel like they wanted Rocket League with a mouse, came to the same conclusion that I'm coming to right now and explaining to you, and then stopped giving them money. And you end up with this like personality-less demo. I don't know. Yeah. Bungle said, probably off topic, but did the ingenuity of mouse mode match what you envisioned for the gimmick? Great question. Okay. So that's my last thing, and then we'll talk about DK. So let me answer this question really quick about mouse mode. Oh yeah. Other third-party games. I like stopped and looked at Street Fighter. I said, this doesn't really look as good as it does on my PS5 and moved on. Hades 2, I played a bunch on PC. I was like, that's Hades 2, that's great. Split Fiction, moved right past it. Hogwarts Legacy, I very loudly was like, Hogwarts Legacy is here? That sucks. Just so everybody could in front of the Hogwarts Legacy booth heard me say that. And moved on. The Civ 7 booth, nobody touched that booth. That booth was empty all day. It was hysterical. All right, let me get back to this mouse mode question. That's so funny because the dude in the robe at the Hogwarts booth was head dev. Dude, he heard me then. He heard me. That guy gave me a look. Oh, dude, that's awesome. All right. Listen, I'm sure there are a lot of devs on that game that do not align with J.K. Rowling's views, but the truth of the matter is that I am sick of upholding that game. I am sick of upholding the Harry Potter brand as something that we should care about. It's over. Move on. Read a second book, everyone. Okay. I think the ingenuity of the mouse mode specifically did not like... Okay, so this is a weird thing, right? I think a lot of Nintendo gimmicks, they do this thing where the idea lights you up. And you think about all of these ways that the idea could be used. And for historically, a lot of Nintendo gimmicks, when you think about the Wii with motion controls, when you think about the 3DS's use of 3D, rarely do Nintendo's gimmicks live up to what they are capable of doing in your imagination. Mouse mode feels technically more promising than creatively promising. I'm not sitting there going, oh, I can't wait to use mouse mode. This is just making me imagine all of these cool things I could do with mouse mode. None of that. But I am really impressed with how technically sound mouse mode works and how like competent of a like gimmick it is. For things that use it, I have all of the confidence in the world that it will be seamless and good. But is like being controlled via a mouse exciting or interesting enough to get me like enthusiastic about it? Not necessarily. So that's it. I hope that made sense. I wonder if Splatoon will use mouse mode. Oh, it will. And Splatoon heads will be extremely annoying about it online. They will constantly, you gotta use mouse mode. You gotta use mouse mode. And I'll be like, shut up, shut up. I got a video game console so I can use a controller. Shut up. He's not using mouse, and then you'll go online, you'll get sniped by somebody, and you'll watch the little replay. It'll be very obvious that they're using mouse mode. You'll get so mad. You'll get so mad, chat. Splatoon is gonna make people so mad about the existence of mouse mode. Crazy. Okay. Oh my god. Okay, so. Did you use tilt controls for Mario Kart World? I wish. I wish. They gave you so little control over what you were doing in Mario Kart World, I couldn't even turn off my little antenna, which drove me nuts and might have affected my perception of the game. We also had to play on 100cc. Ew. Gross. Okay. My final demo of the day. Donkey Kong Bananza. You get ushered into the final area. They tell you, hey, if you play Donkey Kong Bananza, we will never see you again. You're out. You can't come back in here. Are you ready to leave? And I was like, I'm not gonna go play Welcome Tour again. Let me go play Donkey Kong. So I move in. I move into the Donkey Kong booth. And the guy tells me, hey, you're gonna start playing this game. You're gonna wanna dig around everywhere, but I just wanna tell you, it's on a timer. Once that timer ends, your demo is over. So move at whatever pace you want. Donkey Kong Bananza is a really interesting game. Let me get these thoughts out, chat. This is a little complex. I think Donkey Kong Bananza, based on the demo, is a very easy game to glaze, but I don't think that we should glaze it yet. Because the truth is that the game has all of this stuff in it where you are like, this is going to be amazing. Because it's reminding me of Mario Odyssey, but it's different. So much of the design language in the game, from like how you're collecting stuff to kind of how the world is shaped, is like Mario Odyssey coded. Even if it's not made by that team, I don't know for sure. It does enough to remind you of that game that I swear to God, you just assume that it also has like the genius of that game. But in my demo, and I maybe I'm wrong, but I think if you look on the internet right now, from every single preview for Donkey Kong Bananza, I wonder if you will find a lot of people telling you this game is great, but will anybody say that it's great and demonstrate why, telling you about a 20, 30, 40 minute long gameplay section? Will they be able to say, I saw this and then I did this and then I got this? Or are we all just kind of like assuming it's great because of the building blocks seeming great? Okay, so what am I saying? What am I trying to say? Every landmass that you are on in Donkey Kong Bonanza, imagine it is a glob of cookie dough with chocolate chips, and they form that cookie dough to whatever shape that they want. And then you, Donkey Kong, on this giant mound of cookie dough, can dig in and get to all of the chips hidden in that cookie dough however you want. And this seems cool. As an idea, this seems cool. But in practice, chat, every time I had the opportunity, I just dug through and I found golden bananas, treasure maps, little like fossils and artifacts in the landmass, and none of it felt driven by curiosity or any sense of meaningful exploration. I just would take a bite and find something randomly. There was no build up. It just happened. So I think that lack of sequencing in the demo really hurts the game because there's no setup and payoff. You know what I mean? In Mario Odyssey, you see something, you go, I wonder if I can get up there. And then you spend a little time, and then you figure it out, then you get up there and then you're rewarded with a moon. Whereas in Donkey Kong, I was just like, oh, I'm on the land, dig, a golden banana. And that sucked. You know what I mean? Because there was it felt like it devalued the existent, like what the banana was supposed to mean. It wasn't a reward, it was a coincidence. But at the same time, there's this whole system. It's like a systems-based game. And they have this thing where you can like rip out the land and get whatever material that is and like throw it. It's like a chunk-based system. And some of the chunks have different qualities. And sometimes you need to do light puzzle solving based on the different properties of the chunks. I never did this in a meaningful way, but the existence of these systems implies that in the future you will. The movement is like a little bit more complex than you think it's going to be. It takes some time to figure out. You have like this little bounce and this roll and all of this, all of these different tools. You can even use a chunk as like a little surfboard, and that interacts with other things in the world in unique ways. There's all this stuff in the game that like promises that it's going to be great. But in the demo, you don't see any of the greatness. It's just an introduction to all of those building blocks. So it's hard for me to say if they're going to nail it when it actually rolls around, but I have a lot of confidence. There's some jankiness. You know, when you dig down, there's like some weird stuff going on where the camera doesn't know what to do sometimes. And you just kind of have to operate on faith that you kind of have an idea for where you are. But it's so fun to play. I'm being like really critical of this game because I don't want to just fall into the habit of glazing something because the idea seems good. But it's so fun to play. It's like fun. It's fun to be Donkey Kong. It's fun to smash stuff. My favorite part of the demo, chat, was that I found a little event space, and it was like the equivalent of finding a shrine in Breath of the Wild, and it took me into this special area, and this title came up, and it was like, Combat Challenge. Defeat 3 of this special monster. And I was like, let's go. And there was one monster that was like stone, and then there was one that was like lava, and you had to like be creative. You had to be like, oh, okay, so first I break the stone one with this, and then I go up and I punch him like this, and then the lava one, I throw a stone at him, and then I extinguish and now the lava's done, and I can kill that guy. There was like it was coming together. There was this moment where the game was designed, and it wasn't just freedom for the sake of freedom. Freedom is good because freedom. And I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be great. So, yeah. So I think like, I think I'm really enthusiastic about Donkey Kong Bonanza at the end of the day. And I wish that the demo was more just like, here's a really cool sequence. Or, I don't know, maybe I'm asking for like a level, but like just the ability to dig through the earth and like do whatever you want. That to me was not, that can't sustain your whole game. More structure, yeah. I wish there was a little more structure. Because that alone just couldn't sustain the whole game. But I have a lot of confidence because I think that the game has a lot of personality and it has a lot of, it feels bold, right? It feels bold. Because even though it was the very beginning of the game and they were more or less tutorializing me, it didn't feel like a baby game. It didn't feel like they had to spoon feed me everything Donkey Kong could do. And I think my second favorite part of the demo was at one point when I was randomly digging, I found a map and the map pointed me towards where a collectible was on the on the larger like 3D map, which updates alongside your actual 3D map and how you're destroying things. And I saw where the thing was and I saw where I was and I never looked at my map again. And I said, okay, I think I have an understanding of this 3D space and I can get to where that thing was. And I did. And just like having a little mission, having something to do, and then getting there was so fun, dude. Like jumping off the side of the map. And now I'm Donkey Kong and I'm holding onto the side of the level and and then, you know, I climb up the side and then I get to the top and then I jump down and then I dig a little bit and I'm in the, oh my God, dude. It's like, once I had a mission, I was like, let's go, dude. It was really fun. But, objectives, yeah. But when I was just kind of on my own, I was like, oh, this feels light. This feels weak in a way. Did you experience any of the random drops at 30 frames per second? Yeah, definitely. Sometimes you'd be punching stuff up and there'd be all these effects and the game would like have a little moment and it wasn't impactful. It feels like that's one of those things where it's like an early build of the game and it hasn't been polished all the way and it will just be fine. But even if it wasn't, it wasn't like the fact that it happened is all you can say. It doesn't matter. Like, it's so not meaningful. So yeah, neither here nor there. And again, I said this when we were talking about Mario Kart, but I think just really sold on the Donkey Kong redesign. He was so jolly, so ready to have fun. Definitely like a more sweet version of Donkey Kong than we've had in the past. He's like a little sweetie now. Whereas I think before he was maybe more of a little tough customer. Now he's like a sweetie. So, okay. Any last questions about my Nintendo Switch 2 hands-on time before we wrap it up? Chat, I turn it over to you. How heavy was it? I'm assuming the system. It felt the exact same as my Switch OLED. I'm sure it's technically heavier, but I didn't feel it. It was unimpactful, whatever that difference was. Did you get to meet Doug Bowser? No. How did it smell? Good. I missed the start. When did you talk about Joy-Con feel when attached to the system? Did they wobble at all? No wobble at all, Mr. Blue. One of my biggest takeaways was how those magnets were good. Very impressed with the magnets. The magnets, no worries about the magnets. Did you play any Soul Calibur 2? No, I watched people play Soul Calibur 2, understood what I was seeing, and then when I got to the GameCube station, I chose to play Strikers. But it looked good. Still a day one purchase? I think so. If I can get it done, if I can lock in that pre-order, yeah. Did you get in line for the community cartridge lick test? No, but I made out with somebody afterwards who did get the lick, and no, I'm just kidding. No. No licking here, chat. Thank you everybody so much on YouTube for watching this overview of my Nintendo Switch 2 impressions. Hopefully, if nothing goes terribly wrong, we, people who choose to do so will have that console in just about 2 months here. So it won't be long. It won't be long before you know the feel, the buttons, whether or not you can tell me, you can come back to this video and say, Jake, you were wrong. The size of those buttons is making a huge difference to me. please, I encourage you. I encourage you to come back to this video and tell me what you think afterwards. But thank you everybody so much for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye. All right, great. Good job, chat. I think that went well.